Welcome to the Levrige Show. It's Brett Ingram, and I want to show you today how to become an expert in your field, even if you aren't one. But before we get into the specifics of that, I want to talk about why it's so important to be viewed as an expert. So you may think that, hey, we have a business and I'm doing what I do and, we have customers, and what real difference does it make? Whether or not people view me as an expert or not, we still have business. And that may be fine and good. But the reality of the situation is that we tend to trust experts more. We tend to go to experts for their opinion and to seek them out. And we're also willing to pay a lot more money. A couple of examples of this. I was actually doing a little bit of research on Amazon.com, and I was looking up persuasion techniques or something like that. And one of the things that I saw was sort of a generic video course, and it was about persuasion techniques, and it was really pretty long, pretty extensive. It covered a lot of different information, and it was several DVDs and everything else, and it was selling for $99. And then they had just below it one by Tony Robbins, and it was selling for $1,000 or maybe even $2,000, and it was basically 2 DVDs, a lot less content. But because he has a brand, but because everybody views him as an expert in what he does, he's able to charge a lot more. And that's true across the board if you think about it. If you think of the experts that you know, or that you've heard of, or that you follow in any given field, you sort of automatically give them credibility and take what they say with a little bit higher level of credibility and trust because they've positioned themselves as an expert. So what it means to your business is it means a brand that will endure, a brand that will stick around even in challenging times, a brand that isn't going to have to worry about the competition, right? I mean, we're all faced with competition. There's new competitors coming in all the time, no matter what industry you're in. But if you have a brand and you are seen as an expert in what you do, then you never need to worry about competition because customers will always be the path to your door. So that's the importance of being seen as an expert. The credibility, the extra sales, the lack of competition, the ability to continue to generate revenue regardless of the environmental circumstances. And that stuff is really important. But the question then becomes, how do you do that? So if you're not an expert, or maybe you are, but you don't feel like you are, or even if you are, you feel like you are, but no one knows you are. Those are totally different things. What's important is not that you're an expert, but that everyone knows you're an expert, because otherwise it does you no good and you can't charge anything extra for it. It won't buy you any leverage. So I want to share an example with you of this story that I heard of many years ago from a really famous marketing genius. And he used to consult with lots of different Fortune 500 companies and major corporations all over the world. And he was telling the story, and he said, there was a beer company. And the beer company was sort of an afterthought. Their sales were really low. They couldn't compete with any of the major brands. And they really wanted to sort of increase their exposure and explode their sales and everything else. And so he said, all right, well, you know what? Let me come out there and take a tour of your facility, really get an understanding of what you're doing here, so I can pinpoint what it is that would be your expertise or your competitive advantage that then we can key on. So he went out there and he starts, doing some of the research, and they're walking him around and they show him these, 6,000 foot, artesian wells that they dig to get really, pure water. And he says, well, why do you do this? And they said, well, we want only the purest water because when we filter our beer, we want to make sure that it tastes exactly as good as it can be. And he said, well, why don't you tell everybody that you do this? I mean, this is remarkable. I had no idea that you dig that far down, to pipe the water out. And they said, well, everybody does that. All the beer companies do that. And he said, but nobody else knows that. So if nobody knows that and you're the first one to claim it, it's yours. Now you're the expert. They can't stand up and say, hey, me too, me too. It doesn't work. So he convinced them to create this ad campaign where they really focused on the process that they went through to make the beer. And this is decades ago, before everybody was really wise to it all, and there were all these microbrews and everything else. And the long story short is they embraced this and they went with it, and they ended up becoming the 6th most popular beer in America. From being totally off the charts, they weren't even in the top 30. And they shot all the way up to number 6 by using this ad campaign. And so it wasn't even anything unique that they did, but it was the fact that they claimed the uniqueness of it. And the importance of that particular story, and the reason I share it with you, is because it's vital that you understand, right, that no matter what it is that you're doing, whether you are, run a hair salon or a nail salon or a fast food restaurant or whatever it is that you do, right, there are things that you're doing that either you're an expert at or that other people could perceive you as an expert because of the fact that they don't know maybe other people do it too. And so what's the process then of getting that information out? I mean, obviously, if you're talking about a major corporation, they just write gigantic checks and spend millions of dollars on advertising. For, the little guys out there, we can't do that kind of thing. But there's still a way that you can go about it. And the answer really is social media. If you create a bit of information about whether it's your particular expertise and your background, your education, your training, if you are a chef and you train in Europe under, some famous chef, shout that from the rooftops, get that information out so people know it. If you are a mason and you've been doing it for 20 years and your father was a mason and his father was a mason, make sure that information is out there, because all of those things are valuable and they help distinguish you from everybody else that's trying to do what you're trying to do. But a specific thing that you can do is to actually create either a short series of training videos or a short series of sort of how-to videos where you show people particular things. So, for example, if you are an art dealer, you could create a short series of maybe 5 or 6 videos, how to tell a great work of art, how to evaluate a piece of art as to whether or not it's good, and understand its artistic value and importance. If you are, running a hair salon, then you can show, how to style your hair so it looks like you're, ready for the prom in 5 minutes, or, whatever it is. Those are skills, those are things that you have that the average person doesn't. So you may actually take it for granted and think, well, you know what? Everybody knows how to comb hair. Everybody knows how to do this. Everybody knows how to look at a piece of art and figure it out. I don't. I can't do any of those things. And so if you have that experience, if you have that expertise, and I'm interested in that, and then you show it to me, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to start to look to you as the expert. There may be 5 other people on your block competing with you that know more and that have more expertise, and, whatever. It won't matter, because all I know is what I see and what I've learned. And you've educated me. You've shown me how to do a particular thing that I didn't know how to do. You showed me a look into your background, your experience. So I now know that this is what you're capable of and this is how you operate. And it gives me a level of trust that then when you say to me, well, yeah, I can come out and I can install that heating, system for you. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars. And I've already gotten 2 quotes and they're, 75% as much. So you're the most expensive. I'm still more likely to go with you because I trust you, because you've built that equity with me. You've established yourself as an expert in a way that now that's worth more than a few dollars here and a few dollars there. And so it lets you charge more for your products. It'll get you more customers. It'll get you more referrals. It helps you all the way around. So create a short series of videos, 5 to 10 to maybe 15 minutes at the most long each. Post them on YouTube, put links to them on your website, and anytime anybody is looking for information, refer them to these videos. That's all you need to do. You can put them on a page on your website. By educating people and showing them and helping them understand, you position yourself as an expert. You make yourself more valuable. your company more valuable, your brand more valuable. And every single thing about it now becomes more valuable for you. You get more customers, more repeat business. You position yourself as an expert, and you have to worry a lot less about the competition. So that's a great way to really start to build your brand, establish yourself, and generate more sales and more profits in a really, really short period of time with a very small investment of time and money. So, as always, if you have questions, challenges in your business, or feedback, share them with me. We'll tackle that on an upcoming episode. And until then, make it happen.